The Citizen Report is a production of New Shannon Media. All content protected under copyright.
And welcome to the Citizen Report. I'm John DeShannon, and thank you for joining me tonight. As always, this newscast is real, in-depth American. Thank you so much for joining me. My co-host David Heller is off tonight. Well, for the very first time, I'm doing the Citizen Report live, and hope there's a few of you that are tuning in. I can see about two or three people tuning in right now. So hopefully we'll get that number up a little bit as the show goes on. But just as I get started, I want to say I was planning to do my show on Facebook, but unfortunately they have restricted my ability to do a live show. And that tells me, and not just on Facebook groups, by the way, which was where I was planning to do my live shows going forward, but on my personal page as well. So what that tells me is that they perceive, believe it or not, people like me as a threat. Now, I'm not saying me personally in that sense, but the group of people that support Trump, and of course, it's not about Trump, it's not about personality, it's about the Constitution, the rule of law. That's what this really is about at the end of the day. So I'll be getting into more of this, what I see coming in the next week in just a little bit. But I want to first bring to your attention a post that the Patriot Intelligence Insider has talked about. It talked about emergent EAM loyalists. Now, we've talked about this before, but I think it's good to go over it right now because I've gotten some new insight into what this could potentially mean going into next week. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. First thing I want to do is read the post. Now, I'm careful not to use the letter. You can understand why, obviously. It was back on June 4, 2020. It says, and I quote, EAM loyalists, Red 1. POTUS, that's President of the United States, Twitter removal. Red 2, Central Communications blackout, continental U.S. Red 3, class movement, Pelosi or Pence, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Red 4, movement of military assets, and it has in brackets in bold, 10th Mountain 1st Marine CPSD, Marine QVIR, to central locations under guise of citizen riot control. Red 5, National NAT, I assume that means National MIL, Military, Communication, CEN, Center. So put it together, National Military Communications Center. Red 6, Secretary of Defense _ Instruct 1. USSS, I believe, and I'm not sure, but I believe that does mean United States Secret Service. And then it says Castle _ Rock. Okay, so now, having said that, I'm going to do something I don't do that often, and that is, and I do it sometimes, but not very often because I know it takes a little bit of time. But what I want to do right now is I've got a portion of a broadcast pulled up from the X22 Report Spotlight, and he was interviewing a guy by the name of Dave Hayes. You probably better know him as Praying Medic. And basically what Praying Medic is saying is that he got a military source that wrote in to say, look, this is what Red 1, Red 2, so on actually means. And I think it's a very interesting insight because it's not a kind of insight we've heard very often. So, and this may help to reveal what potentially could go down next week. So let's listen in. As I comment, if you're watching me live, just put a comment and let me know if the audio's coming through okay, because again, I'm having to kind of test this on the go here. So, all right, let's get going with this soundbite. And I'm only going to play a pretty short bit, but he does take a bit to explain it. So I'm going to start playing it now.
Go ahead.
Another perspective.
Go ahead.
So I wrote an article kind of based on this post on the 10th of January, 4 days ago. And I got an interesting comment on that blog post from a guy who was former military, and he used to write military operation plans. And he left this comment on that post. So I'm just going to read it. I'm retired and have active duty experience in developing military O plans. Military O plan is a military operation plan. And he says this. He says red lines, in parentheses, red 1, red 2, etc. So there's red 1, red 2, red 3, red 4. The military refers to those as red lines.
Okay.
Okay. Red lines are predefined events which trigger specific sets of military actions and responses.
Okay.
So red line 1, POTUS Twitter removal, that is a red line that if that happens, the military is going to respond. All right, red line 2, central communications blackout. It's red line. If that happens, then this happens. Classified movements, Pelosi or Pence. If this happens, then this happens. This triggers, this responds.
So they're crossing a red line, in each line something.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep. He says the military actions and responses are defined in the operation plan. You have the definition of the red line and you have the definition of the response. Okay. We see here the basic triggers, but not the responses, each of which can number dozens of pages. I believe that when Q says trust the plan, now this is an interesting commentary.
Mm-hmm.
In my blog post, I had suggested that when Q says trust the plan, he's basically saying trust that the president is backed by the military and they have a plan to work this all out. And he said, I was wrong.
Okay.
He said, that's not what trust the plan means. He said, when Q says trust the plan, he's referring to a specific operation plan that was developed some time ago, even before Trump was elected. And I believe that the above red line items are extracts from that plan. This is important because the operation plan is no small document. They typically number hundreds of pages, even thousands when you include all the annexes and cited sources and references. The operational plans also take years to prepare. Dozens of experts from various fields are involved in their development. As for the numbering, red lines are laid out chronologically and or in terms of magnitude or importance of the events. But they may skip around in sequence of when they actually take place. Always remember this is a planning document, and the planners never have 100% certainty as to what will happen, in what order, or when. Because you have battle plans, and then as soon as you engage the enemy and the enemy takes action against you, you adjust your plan.
Correct.
According to their response, right?
Yep.
Right. So my impression is that smart, experienced people have already spent time documenting what might happen and what they intend to do about it. Additionally, subjects of operational plans, the significance, whether facilities, units, or people, are always designated in all caps.
Okay.
So any individual, any resources or facilities are always written in all caps in an operation plan. It says, that reinforces to me that these red lines were written by military professionals. The thing that really stands out to me is the phrase Pelosi or Pence. Either person's movement will trigger the same set of responses.
Okay.
Because Pelosi or Pence, either one of them doing a move is going to trigger the same response. Right?
It's a move that they're going to make.
That's Pelosi or Pence is the trigger.
Okay.
that's going to set in motion a response by the military. And they're equivalent. Whether the move is by Pelosi or Pence doesn't matter. The same reaction is going to take place.
Okay.
Right. We all know Pelosi's goals and motivations, and that red line equates to the two of Pence and Pelosi having similar goals and motivations requiring a similar response. So he is suspecting that Pence may be actively working against Trump, and a movement by Pelosi or Pence is going to have the same threat to President Trump, and it's going to trigger the same response. That's his assessment. So I emailed him. That's the end of his comment on my website. So
I'm going to keep playing this for just a few more moments. I know this is a bit drawn out, but I think it's very important information. Let me pause for just a second to say, again, this is X22 Report Spotlight. He's interviewing Praying Medic. And basically what he is saying is that he's gotten a contact within the military. I didn't catch if it was current or retired, but regardless, it was a person with knowledge of the situation, not specific to this situation, I should say, but generally with regards to procedure. What he's basically getting at is that the military develops plans long in advance that can be hundreds, if not thousands of pages when it includes the addendums, or I should say the appendixes, all the stuff related to the plan. And basically what he's getting at is that they have this plan. If this is true, again, with Q, as with everything, we're being discerning. We don't assume everything is necessarily 100% true until we're confident that it is. I personally believe that Q is real, but I also go through the rationale of discernment as well, if you get my drift. But my point being is that apparently, if taken to be true, that this is a military plan, that if a certain event takes place, there's a certain response. If I'm understanding it correctly. So, future reference, TYCH for short, fewer syllables. Okay. Chess masters know how to manipulate the board to force the opponent where they want them to go to ensure checkmate. Watch what you say. Yeah, I know I need to not use the letter, and I won't use the letter anymore in this show if I remember to. But anyways, I want to keep playing this for a little bit longer, if you don't mind, because I think this is very important information. So let's keep listening for just a few more moments, and then we'll move on.
I emailed him, and I said, "Hey, can you tell me more about these operation plans?"
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he wrote back. He said, "From my experience, these red lines really looked like they were taken from an O plan. But beyond what I posted, I can't really state or interpret Q's post or the meaning of the red lines with 100% authority. I can tell you a little more about O plans in general. They're numbered, and there is at least one for each U.S. theater of operations. You go on Wikipedia and look up O plan.
Mm-hmm.
They have a couple of numbered operation plans that are known, that have been disclosed to the public. I think most of them deal with North Korea. Anyway, I'm going to continue. Each O plan addresses a theater level problem that U.S. forces might encounter. What to do if North Korea attacked South Korea? What to do if China attacked Taiwan? The 6 red lines that Q posted look like a subset. O plans that I've worked on typically contain dozens of red lines depending on what events are anticipated to be monitored and or threats to be neutralized. O plans are typically classified for your eyes only or secret, but they almost always have top secret or higher appendices and annexes. In addition to laying out a scenario with threat conditions and pre-planned military responses, they also contain listings of forces and capabilities required to execute the response. They also contain listings of, as well as the activities required to bring those units and capabilities into theater, as well as transfer the appropriate level of command and control to the in-theater commanders. They usually include a lot of logistics information, facilities, basing information, as well as common plans to ensure continuity of command, control, communications, computers, and intelligence in contested environments. As I said in my post, the item that stood out to me the most was equating Pelosi and Pence with one of the red lines. Now, it may be that they were both listed in the same red line because they're both in the National Command Authority line of succession and continuity of government. That's what I initially thought when I read this post back in June. But in light of the events of January 6th, I now think Pelosi and Pence represent equivalent threats and are to be handled in a similar way. Either way, it's speculation on my part, but I'm absolutely convinced when Q says trust the plan, he's referring to a real, actual, mature, developed plan of action, not some notional plan, as this also ties into the Q's assertion of being military intelligence. So that is what this guy wrote. That gave me a completely different look on this on this post.
Yes. Absolutely. Now I see it completely different. Now when I'm looking at it, it's very so. We found out that Pence, he went to where the 10th Mountain 1st Marine.
He is going there Sunday. The
Sunday.
17th.
That's today.
There. Yeah.
And what do you think that means?
Well,
What's your interpretation?
You and I as Anons,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there because I know it was getting a little drawn out, but I felt like it was very important that I put that into this record. But I just want to say as well, I basically want to summarize what I've just heard in that second half. So basically, what is to be interpreted from this military insider, assuming that this is a real insider, of course, is that this insider is saying that basically what we have is the military with this Red 1, Red 2 stuff. It basically is derived from a master plan, like a big military plan that tries to foresee certain situations that may not be, like there might be one event that takes place, but there may be these other events that take place instead. So they try to plan for each one that they can foresee. So what we're seeing here is we're seeing moves and counter moves. We've heard that phrase a lot, and I think that that's exactly what we're seeing here. So I hope that was beneficial to the audience that I played that. I give full credit, copyright credit to X22 Report Spotlight, obviously, Dave, whoever he is. But I want to also talk about, I'm now on prayingmedic.com, and this is what he says regarding Red 1. Now, reason why, let me back up for just a second, just to make sure everybody is understanding what I'm really getting at here. When I'm saying Red 1, Red 2, this is what the 17 poster is saying. And it's talking about certain trigger points. Basically, when this event occurs, there's a certain action that will be taken. Now, I'm not saying that in this post seems to maybe differ a little bit from what the military insider is. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But I'm only going to read a pretty small portion of this. And that is, let's start with line 3, which is Red 2. And it says, quote, line 3, Red 2 contains another interesting prediction. Nationwide communications blackout in the U.S. We have not seen this yet, but we certainly see efforts to suppress communications by big tech companies. So let me stop right there. Yours truly is censored on Facebook from live streaming. I can still post on my personal page, but I can't do live shows. Hence why I'm here on why I'm here. That's why I'm here on YouTube doing a live show instead. I wasn't planning for that. That's why I delayed it a little bit to get going, because I wanted to give people an opportunity to migrate over here. Line 4, Red 3 says, class movement Pelosi or Pence. Some believe this refers to Nancy Pelosi and Mike Pence being moved to safety on January 6 during the counting of the Electoral College vote. I do not agree with that interpretation. The abbreviation class stands for classified, or details that not available to the public. Only the Secret Service and perhaps members of the military who are read in on this operation would know that this event was taking place. It's a signal to team members, not us. So I'm going to read into what he just said, or read in between the lines, and assume what he's actually saying is that this may be something that occurs even later than now. And obviously was not a reference back to January 6th. At the time, we saw that Pelosi was being moved to safety. I think it was a complete farce, but my point being is that we thought at the time maybe that was what this was referring to. Apparently not. We'll have to wait and see how things play out as we go forward in the next few days. And I'm not going to read any more of this post, but I just basically want to say, I just want to say, we don't really have a lot of information. I cannot tell you how difficult it is for me to even say anything on this show right now. Because one, I don't want to get censored, and two, just don't have a lot of information that's confirmed. Now, just speaking generally, if we knew everything, then the deep state would know. So it's probably a good thing. Well, it obviously is a good thing, right? That we don't know, because that way the deep state hopefully doesn't learn exactly what the nuances of this plan is. We only have about, 3 days right now. 3 days and so many hours. We got to a Wednesday at noon to make something happen. And we have a lot of these things where they're saying, oh, the Patriots are going to go to state capitals. They're going to go to this. They're going to go to that. And I'm telling you right now, what I can tell you for absolute certainty is that anything you see where there's this supposed protest at a state capitol or other site, regardless of where it is right now, city, county, state, or federal, all of those things, they are not real Trump supporters. There might be a few that get mixed in and go there being deceived into thinking this is a legitimate event, when in reality, I believe, as do others, that this is an Antifa BLM type of false flag, we'll say, or FF. I don't want to, I'm going to have to start using more acronyms, because I just don't know at what point do the algorithms kick in and start censoring me. But before I wrap up, and I'm going to come to the end of my show here pretty shortly, but I just want to say I am going to be doing a citizen report between now and Wednesday. You can count on that. And regardless of what happens between now and Wednesday, what I can tell you is this. We have seen a lot of preparation, a lot of things that have happened with Trump and the people around him. We've seen him get rid of certain people that were not loyal to him, and we've also seen people that are apparently have turned out not to be loyal to him, or at least they're appearing as such. They have resigned from the Trump administration. So for one thing, the 25th Amendment, that's going down the tubes. We see Pence saying that he's not going to go along with that. So could Pence actually be playing a role and just appearing to be backstabbing Trump when he's really not? I don't know. That's the thing. We don't have a lot of information, but I do not believe that Trump would have come this far, and of course, it's not just about Trump, but everyone around him working with him and him working with them. I don't believe all these preparations would have been made for it to all go down the drain right now. Now, we saw Mike Lindell emerge from the White House with a piece of paper that basically was holding, I believe, a phone, like a cup of coffee or latte, whatever it was, and then a document that was kind of turned downward a little bit, and somebody with the fake news media, I assume, got a picture of that, and basically it talks about martial law, certain scenarios. But I would not be surprised if that was intentional disinformation. Not that Mike Lindell had an ill intent. That's not what I'm saying. They may have been trying to throw off the fake news to make everyone think that Trump's going to implement martial law, when instead Trump and the Patriots are going to go down a different path. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. And also, before I wrap up, I also want to say, as an encouragement to everyone, I want to read everybody a couple of verses. I hope you'll indulge me for just a moment before I wrap up here. But 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 7 through 9 says this: "But we have this treasure in earthly vessels, so that the surpassing greatness of the power will be of God and not from ourselves. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not despairing, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed." And then later on in verse 16, it says, "Therefore, we do not lose heart." So I say that as an encouragement. I was given these verses by one of my professors early on at Liberty University towards the end of my first semester, and that really helped me later on. And I think that can be an encouragement to us right now, that everything seems to be lost, but we're not destroyed. We haven't drowned. We might be in the water, but the water isn't over our heads. We're not drowning. So I do believe that God is going to sustain us, and he's going to make sure that regardless of what happens, even if the worst case scenario happens and Biden, God forbid, becomes the person occupying the Oval Office, I will not call him president. He will be a person occupying the Oval Office. That's what I'll probably refer to him as. But I just want to encourage everybody that even if worst case scenario we have Biden in the Oval Office, I do not believe that God is going to he's not going to forsake us. He hasn't forsaken us. And people have made it very clear that God has revealed to them, they claim, that God is going to do something to rescue all this. We'll have to wait and see what happens. People claim they've had, that God has revealed to them that Trump would be in office for 2 terms. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. And I totally agree that I truly believe that if there is a miracle, because that's what it'll take at this point, that only God can take the credit, not Trump, not any of us. Only God can take the credit for it. So maybe in a way this will point people to him by it being looking so bad right now, and then all of a sudden everything turns around. We'll have to wait and see, but I just think that's a very interesting possibility, okay? I truly believe that God has not forsaken this country. I truly believe that. The deep state has had its grip on this country for so long, and now we're fighting to get out from its stranglehold. And I truly believe that in this time, God is going to help us. I just truly believe that. So anyways, I just want to thank you for watching the Citizen Report, my first live show of the Citizen Report. And this has been fun. I like doing live shows, and I hope I'll be doing this more often. I hope I get to stay on YouTube, and I hope I get to be able to do it on Facebook soon. So I will be back soon with another broadcast of the Citizen Report sometime this week. God bless each and every one of you. Don't forget my website, thecitizenreport.weebly.com. And I will see you next time. Have a good night, everyone.